So as most of you guys know, I have been following the 2025 AFL draft quite closely, especially considering my favourite team, the Richmond Football Club, has 2 picks in the top 3 at the moment. Again, a lot of the draft could obviously change. I mean, there's going to be a lot of trades, coming up in the AFL trade period. And there's also a lot of other things that we have to factor in. For example, West Coast, their captain, Oscar Allen, he could possibly be leaving, and it's being said he probably is leaving, and the contract rumors that he is supposed to be accepting, as reported by multiple different sources, are saying that they are going to be pretty high, meaning that West Coast are going to get BAM 1 compensation pick, which will be pick 2. Again, right next to their pick 1, which is absolutely crazy to think. But again, a lot of stuff is yet to be confirmed, and we don't really know the true story about everything that is happening. But of course, this hasn't stopped people from making AFL mock drafts, and thank God, because there have been some really interesting ones and really good ones that definitely need to be talked about. And there is one that I actually found that I really want to make a video on, especially as a Richmond fan, and kind of just give you guys my thoughts and opinions about these picks and how they are going to affect the Tigers. Again, this one is actually made by Dylan Alexander, who is pretty much the draft guru. This guy literally gets paid a crap ton of money to watch children kick a ball. That is the reality of things, and he made a really good AFL mock draft. Yeah, actually, having, of course, the West Coast Eagles selecting Cooper Duff-Tyler at pick 1. The Eagles then selecting Zeke Uland at pick 2, and that being matched. Of course, then the West Coast Eagles selecting Josh Lindsay. And then the Tigers at pick number 4 selecting Willem Duursma. Now, Willem Duursma is a very, very interesting pick for, a lot of different reasons, right? Again, the Duursmas are not exactly... They haven't been that good in the AFL, to put it quite simple. Again, both of the Duursmas who in the AFL right now were both quite high picks. Again, Xavier had a lot of really good moments at Port Adelaide, but his career at Essendon so far has been, a lot of ups and downs. Again, his, last season with Essendon really wasn't good. This season with Essendon, he actually is playing very good and has been one of Essendon's, I think, better players, but there's still a lot of issues about his game. Again, I find him to be very weak in the contest, and his kicking can sometimes be goddamn awful. Like, how, in the NBA, there'll be a player or so that just has a random weird flaw, like Jaylen Brown can't go left when he dribbles. Again, Willem Duursma's, Xavier Duursma's, weird flaw is that he always kicks it out of bounds when he's really close to the side. Again, I don't know why this is or if anyone's noticed this, but that man will kick it out in the full 9 out of 10 times for freaking no reason whatsoever. Then you got Zane, who is only in his 2nd season with North Melbourne and playing for a very, very bad side who, again, have used him as a sub, and he's playing the hardest position in footy as a high half forward. He really hasn't found his, mojo there, and I won't critique him too hard because, again, we really don't know what Zane Duursma is going to be like. But again, Willem Duursma is a different story. He is supposed to be the best out of the 3. Again, he's a lot different because he can pretty much do nearly everything. Again, Zane is supposed to be strictly a high half forward who can maybe move to the wing. He's more a high half forward. He's supposed to be able to move up the ground. Xavier Duursma has really been restricted to only being a wing because he's too weak to be a half back, and he's not that good on the inside, so he's kind of strictly been a wing. But when it does come to Willem Duursma, he is actually really good at a lot of different things. Again, Willem Duursma himself, he wants to be an inside midfielder. Now, is his contested possession game good enough to be that? I'm not too sure. But I think, again, the other 2 positions that he's played a lot of footy at, I think he could be a very good player at each. And this does happen to be as a halfback, or what I think he'd be at with Richmond, a very good wing. Again, one of the cool things about Willem Duursma is this guy is really, really tall. Again, Willem Duursma is 191 centimeters, or at least that is what he was, I think, put at the start of the year. Again, he may have possibly grown a centimeter or two and may still have a centimeter or two left in him because, yeah, this guy is a very, very tall, again, inside midfielder, which is, of course, what he likes to play. And I definitely feel like he could definitely spend some time there in the AFL, especially if he does put on some muscle and, gets a little bit stronger in the contest. But with Richmond, especially in his first couple years, I could definitely see him being a wing, especially considering I think Richmond desperately need wings. Again, Sam Banks, Hugo Ralphsmith, and Jack Ross were supposed to be their future wings and their wings going forward. But unfortunately, or more so, fortunately for them, Sam Banks has actually turned into a really good half-back. So unfortunately, he can't play wing because he is fortunately really, really good as a backman. While Jack Ross is a very weird player, it does seem to be like he is too slow for the wing. They're playing him as like this high half forward role right now, and he's, kind of chipping in the midfield. Again, he's not a future wing for them. And Hugo Ralphsmith has a really good offensive game, but his defensive game as a wing can be very bad sometimes, which is definitely not good because wings have to have great two-way running and be good defensively, and Hugo Ralphsmith can just sometimes not be that good. But in saying all that, because Hugo Ralphsmith is kind of their only natural wing at the moment, and they're playing someone else as the other wing the whole time, whether it's Jack Ross, Camden McIntosh, Thompson Dow's been there, Luke Trainer's been playing there, etc., etc. I think they desperately need a wing, and I think Willem Duursma would be very, very good for that, which again is actually why I really like this pick by Dylan Alexander. I think he could be a very good wing for them. He seems to be good two-way as well. He can get down and help down the back line. I think he can push up as well and move all across the ground, present as a marking option as well. And an underrated part of his game is he can actually do the kick-ins, which is really interesting. He's actually a really good kick-in player, which I think the Tigers will be looking at for the future as well. So again, I overall just really like this Willem Duursma pick. Again, moving on though, they have the Tigers selecting Dylan Patterson, then that's also being matched by the Gold Coast Suns. And then with pick number 6, he has Richmond selecting Sam Grlj. Now, I would argue that Sam Grlj, to me, just from what I've seen and what I've noticed and known of this draft, I would argue Sam Grlj is the perfect player for Richmond to draft. There is not a more perfect player for the Tigers to select in this upcoming draft. And the reason I say that right now is because if you watch Richmond's midfield, they've got the, contested clearance stoppage player in Tim Taranto. They've kind of got that in Jacob Hopper. They selected that in Josh Smiley. Again, Jack Ross, when he plays in the midfield, he's not overly quick at all. Their midfield is pretty slow, it's pretty one-dimensional, and they are trying to change that. Again, they are drafting for the future right now. They selected Josh Smiley to be a inside contested clearance, stoppage player. They selected Sam Lawler to be the guy who comes in there and, again, is the elite ball user and can be contested player, all of that as well. Taj Houghton as well, they selected him to be a high half forward who can go in that midfield, add speed, all of the above. The one thing they really don't have in there, right, I think is burst out of the stoppage and speed out of the stoppage, and that is exactly what Sam Grlj is. Again, I believe Dylan Alexander actually compared Sam Grlj to a younger Chris Judd and a current day Max Holmes. And if any of you know AFL, which I'm sure most of you do, that is an elite comparison to have because Chris Judd is an all-time legend and Max Holmes is arguably one of the best players in the competition right now. So again, even though the Tigers have technically stoppage players, none of them are overall that quick. They don't exactly have the burst that you need. And the Tigers desperately need that because their midfield seems at times pretty one-dimensional. And you can tell they're really trying to change that, drafting Sam Lawler, drafting Taj Houghton, and could very well be drafting Sam Grlj. And again, Sam Grlj is a little bit on the shorter side at 183, and Tigers midfield is really tall. You could tell they definitely need a smaller midfielder, in my opinion, who's going to add speed and who's going to add that burst from the stoppage. So, in my opinion, this is a perfect draft for Richmond. I think there's a lot of things they need. I still think they need another small forward / high half forward. They probably need a future ruckman. They definitely need a wing, and I think they definitely need burst and speed in that midfield. And I mean, you get the two most important things right there. You're going to get your burst and your speed out of the midfield in Sam Grlj in this mock draft, and then you're going to get your future wing who can also play halfback if you need. He can also do the kick-ins if you need, and he also will play a lot of midfield, I'm sure, as well. So the Tigers could be looking at a midfield next year and depth that looks like Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper, Josh Smiley, Sam Lawler, Taj Houghton, Sam Grlj, Willem Duursma, probably Jack Ross, and I'm definitely probably missing a name or two who can all go in that inside, and that's the great flexibility you need. And other than Taranto and Hopper, all of those guys can practically play different positions, and that's what they're going to need for the future. They're going to need someone to rotate with Sam Lawler in the forward line. Again, Taj Houghton can do that. They can both swap. Willem Duursma can go rotate to being a half-back. Whatever it might be, they can do a lot of different things right there. So, I honestly really like this mock draft by Dylan Alexander. Again, he's then got the Brisbane Lions getting Dan Ainable. I think St Kilda would pick him. That gets matched. St Kilda take Oliver Greaves. Essendon take Sam Cumming. And Max King gets matched by Sydney. So yeah, a lot of matchings in the top 10. That's just how it's going to be. But it is a very interesting upcoming draft. And I think there are a lot of really good players that the Tigers can still look at that they may potentially be able to draft. And a lot of players who could very well have an effect on their team, like those two that I mentioned. So again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Who do you think Richmond... Bro, I gotta pump that ball up, man. That shit has fallen down so many times. Again, if you haven't already, go subscribe to my gaming channel, my sport channel, which is this one. All of the above. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.